Hello. Hope you're having a good day. It's time for my devotional. I didn't get on yesterday, as sometimes happens, just because of the nature of things, being a pastor and all the various changes to your day that you can have. So yesterday I wasn't available, but today we're here and we're going to just go on with our devotion. We're in Proverbs chapter 6, verse 22. So that's where we're at. So that's what I'm just gonna do. I'm gonna read the verse and just remind everybody the last couple of verses we've entered this new section in Proverbs where we're going to be talking about these different things, and we kind of talking a little bit about the idea of a standard in life and having some kind of a standard, and how the wisdom of God should be that standard, and that if we learn that standard as a principle that guides us, or that kind of like we're going to live up to this, that kind of a thing, how that will work for us. So in verse 22, it goes on to talk about this idea. So let's read it. It says, "When you walk about, they will guide you. The teachings will guide you. When you sleep, they will watch over you. And when you awake, they will talk to you." So it's three sentences, just kind of, once again, talking about walking about, sleep, wake, walking about. So it's the cycle of life, that every day you go about your business, and then you go at the end of your day, you go to bed, and then in the morning you wake. And the standard, this good godly standard that we can learn from Proverbs, is something that can just guide, kind of watch over all that stuff, the whole of your life. And so that's the idea there, but that's what it's kind of emphasizing, is how the value of that in being a guardian of your life. So just to look at each of those phrases briefly, that first one says, "When you walk about." So think about it this way: a person who has a godly standard, then as they walk about, right, as they go around the day of their life, as they go around doing stuff all day long, they have the standard there in them, in their heart, in their mind. It becomes a thing that helps them make the decisions of every crossroad they face as they go through their day, everything they do. You can have this as a thing that assists you. Now, some decisions we make are so easy; they're not really things we need to think about a whole lot. They're just am I going to have this or that for breakfast? Something as simple as that. And these principles of life, they may not be things that seem to apply to all those little details, and in some ways I guess it doesn't, but it creates a foundation in your life of how you make decisions. As we learn the wisdom of God, we can learn even the method of how do I make even those simple how do I do it, right? And becomes a guide for you, so that even those things actually get affected, even if they aren't directly, like, you're not thinking of a proverb when you choose your breakfast, but it can affect how you think about things, so that it affects even those little decisions. But it certainly applies to the big decisions of the day. Every time you interact with someone or have to make a choice at work or whatever, the principles of God become things that give you a framework for making good decisions all day long. And that's the idea there. And not only that, not only in making good decisions, but it also gives you this ability to persevere in the decision when it becomes difficult to carry through. So we make choices, and sometimes you can start second guessing a choice, and is this really the thing I need to do? And once again, then having that standard in your life, it gives you a framework once again of just knowing whether or not you need to second guess something. Maybe you do, but you get that framework in place that helps you make the good decision. Or and then if you're like, no, I made the right decision, it's just now I have to do the hard work of following through. Well, it can become the guide to you in doing that as well. And so this framework of wisdom from Proverbs becomes a great way to help you do those things, to redirect when you make mistakes. Okay, well, I see now that I fell out of the frame, I fell out of the standard, and I need to get back on track. And well, even that, it helps you make those decisions well, or to reassure you and give you a sense of confidence in the decisions you're making, and which is very valuable. Having a sense of confidence is actually, I would say, a really big part of the whole idea of what's being expressed in this verse. Being able to feel and know that, okay, I'm making good decisions, so I can walk right with confidence, rather than timidly crawl along or stumble. I know I can have a confidence about the course I'm choosing, because it's based on this framework or this standard of life that God has given me through the Proverbs and through His scriptures. So that's the walkabout part there, how it would be a guide to you, right? So then there's the idea of when you sleep, they will watch over you. The teachings will watch over you as you sleep. And I think the idea here is that at the end of the day, after you've lived and done all the stuff that you've done during your day, and you go to bed at night, right? And you want to go to sleep, you want to be able to recuperate and re-energize. Um, but not even just when you go to sleep. I would say it also just includes the whole settling down process when you come home in the evening and you're able to take off your shoes and sit back in a chair and just let the day's work pass. And now the regeneration time of just recuperating, which of course involves sleeping through the night. That rest period becomes something that you can do because your standard is watching over you. And what that means is you made decisions during the day. You've done stuff that was based on a good godly framework. So now I can rest and leave it with God. I've done the right thing. And I've done all that I can. So now I don't have to own that and take it into my evening. I can just let it go. It's what I did during the day. It was on a good basis. Now it's up to God to watch over it. And whatever He decides to allow to come, I can live with that because He's my guardian. I've lived the way He taught me to live. So I can now relax. I don't need to worry. I can let the anxiety go. I can just trust it. It's a good framework that I've built my day on. So I can trust it to stand now that I stand down. It should stay standing until tomorrow when I'll deal with whatever comes. And so that's kind of the idea of that part of this sentence, of that part of this verse, is to just let you know that there's a thing that happens when you learn to live by this standard, that you can learn then how to rest well, and how to have that come down at the end of the day, and how to do that well. And so it's really, really valuable. You can trust it because it's trustworthy. And you don't need to have any guilt either. And that's the other thing. When you go to bed at night, and you don't have to lie there feeling guilty that, "Oh, I did something wrong. I shouldn't have done that," because you've been living a good moral life, because that's what God's ways teach us. So I can stand down now because I've lived well today, so I can sleep well tonight. And that's the idea. Then the third part of it is when you awake, they will talk to you. The teachings will talk to you. So it's the idea of that when you get yourself started in the morning, right, and you come out of that rest period and you're ready to go back into work. Well, then that this does is it says, "Hey, here's your agenda. Here's what you need to do." And it's gets you on a good start with each day because you set up that as the first part of your thinking, and it just sets you up for the rest of your day for everything that you're going to need to do and accomplish. You're set up with that standard first. It comes in first, and you know where you're going, and that gives you purpose, and gives you, well, efficiency. Gives you a better start to everything you're going to do over the course of that day. And so you don't need to feel overwhelmed with the day that's in front of you, because you have a sense of what you're going to do already. I'm going to live by this standard. So I know maybe a hard day ahead of me, or maybe a busy day ahead of me, but I've got a standard of how I'm going to live that's going to watch over that. So it's going to talk to me right at the beginning of my day and inform how I'm going to step forward. And one of the hardest things is getting started. Really is. Like, getting that first step is usually the hardest step. And so with a good standard and a good framework in each day of your life, you get that first step right there. For me, to have a chat with God and talk about what's going to happen today, that kind of thing. So that's the value of learning God's wisdom as a standard for life, because then it does this for you, and it gives you that daily rhythm that's really, really worthwhile, really great to have. And without the standard, then you can find yourself feeling increasingly overwhelmed and tired and uncertain, and making poor choices, and those are hard things. So the only thing I want to end up with here today is for people that may be listening to this, and they may say, "Well, I'm not sure. Like, I try to live by this standard, but still I find I don't get good rest, or and or I still make lots of mistakes, or I don't feel that confidence." You're talking about anxiety still kind of overwhelms me. So I want to just you say, okay, you may live by the standard, and at least much by the standard, but maybe there's still parts of your life that haven't quite been mastered yet, and so don't be discouraged by that. Just keep learning. God does give us instruction on how to overcome anxiety, for instance. It is a thing. So just because you haven't mastered all of the teachings of God yet doesn't mean you're a failure. But it could account for why you may find yourself still struggling with uncertainty or anxiety or things like that, because there's still areas you just have to master. And so just keep persevering and learning those things, and bring it to God and say, okay, God, this part of my life, I just haven't figured out how to live your way yet. And he'll help you figure that out. He really will. But once we are perfected in the ways of God, if we ever get there, it's a lifelong journey. But once you're perfected in them, they actually become a source of great security for you in your life. And so I would encourage you to just keep persevering and learning and growing in them. And that's it for today. So, God willing, we'll be back tomorrow for verse 23. In the meantime, have a great evening, and a great rest of your day today, and we'll see you tomorrow. God bless.